Okay, so today on the first part of this worksheet, we're going to continue on with simplifying, and then the second half we'll be looking at multiplying fractions. So let's look at these two examples here. It's going to be basically the same as last lesson, except it hasn't been factorized for you yet. So just like last lesson, our key idea is to factorize whatever we can first. So here we need to factorize this and this. There's no number I can take out here. But we spot this is a square and this is a square number, and it's the difference between the two of them. So we have here the difference of two squares. So we can use x plus 3, x minus 3 over x minus 3. And now we split this into two factors. We can then cancel the factor from top and bottom, in effect dividing the top and bottom by x minus 3, which leaves us with just x plus 3. Let's look at the second example. Just like before, I'm going to factorize the top of this fraction. So here I'm looking for numbers that multiply to make 6 and add to make minus 5. I know that the numbers must both be negative because they multiply to make a positive number, but add to make a negative number. So I think 6 is 1 times 6 or 2 times 3. If these are both negative, which would work, negative 2, negative 3 multiplied together gives positive 6, adds to make minus 5. So this would become x minus 2, x minus 3 over x minus 2. And just as before, we can simplify the fraction, dividing top and bottom by x minus 2, giving me x minus 3. So this is mostly a recap on how to factorize these quadratics. So now you should be able to do the first part of this worksheet. If you're unsure, I suggest you go back through your notes on how to do factorizing with these from term 1. Maybe look at some other videos online to help you. But this should be mostly revision. So I suggest you stop here and complete the first side of the worksheet and perhaps the first 2 questions of the second side. We're now going to continue and look at multiplying algebraic fractions. So let's start by looking at multiplying normal fractions. And again appears the normal fraction example. So 10 over 21 multiplied by 9 times 55. We should remember that we are multiplying the top and multiplying the bottom. But hopefully remember to pre-simplify. If I can divide the top by something here and the bottom by something here, it makes the whole question a lot easier, because what I'm doing is simplifying before the multiplication. So here I've divided top and bottom by 5, and here I've divided top and bottom by 3. And so that gives me 6 over 77. And I know that's fully simplified because I've already done all the divisions that I can here. So we're going to take that same idea of pre-simplifying and trying that on an algebraic fraction. One that perhaps looks a little more tricky, but really isn't. So first of all, I look, is there anything I can simplify already in this fraction? That should be there. Okay, and we should notice that I have x plus 2 and x plus 2, so I can already simplify that. But now we look, is there anything I can pre-simplify before multiplying these together? So here I can see x minus 5 is on the bottom and x minus 5 is on the top. Do bear in mind here, although there's no brackets around this x minus 5, it really is treated like brackets. The fraction sign is acting like brackets, saying all of this is one thing on top of the fraction. So that's why x minus 5 and x minus 5 brackets here can be cancelled. And on the top here, x plus 3, x minus 7, there's nothing more to simplify. So now I do my multiplication. Well, this is x plus 3 times 1, so x plus 3, and x minus 7 times 1. So this is x minus 7. And that is done. Now let's have a look at division, which is very similar. Let's have a quick reminder of what division looks like with normal fractions. Here's one I made earlier. So division is the same thing as multiplying, except we have to flip the second fraction as we change it to multiply. 21 over 8. Okay, keep, flip, change, you might have heard of it. Keep the first fraction the same, change the sign, and flip the fraction. Now we have to pre-simplify, just like before. So here I can see I can divide top and bottom by 4. So that would give me 3 and 2. And divide top and bottom by 7, which gives me 3 and 5. So 3 times 3 is 9, 5 times 2 is 10. And that's it. So now let's look and see how that applies to our algebraic fraction. So we start by doing nothing except keeping the first fraction the same, exactly the same, changing the sign to times and flipping the other fraction. 2x plus 2 over 5x plus 7. And now we just need to do the pre-simplifying as before. So as then I bring the pre-simplifiers, I've got x plus 2, and one of the x plus 2 is here. So if I'm dividing this by x plus 2, I'll be left with just x plus 2. And I'm going to divide x plus 7 from top and bottom. So now all I have is 3 times 2 is 6. And on the bottom I have 5 times x plus 2. And that is now complete. I have done the division. So that concludes our multiplying and dividing lesson for today. We will do practice of harder questions in a future e-learning session. One more thing to mention is that on the worksheet there are some questions that if I had 2/3 times 3/4, they're instead written with a dot between. This also means multiply. So if you see this dot between the two fractions, it just means to multiply the two fractions. You should now be able to complete the rest of the sheet and upload it to your teacher to mark. Thank you.